We just did it on the block. Turning now to a wrap of your top stories of the day.
Good Wednesday morning. CMS has taken steps to try to help those students in drastic need, those students who are housing insecure. On Tuesday, board members approved significant policy updates aimed at ensuring education stability. The district's new measures require schools to immediately enroll students, even without documentation like immunization records or proof of residency. Also, transportation will be provided without delay for these students. They say that's a crucial step for students who often move frequently or lack a permanent address. All these changes are made to expand what the district calls its safety net, giving all students, regardless of their circumstances, a better chance to succeed.
All right, a serious crash this morning has completely blocked McIlwain Road. You can see it there shaded in purple. That's just off of Beatties Ford Road. Emergency responders are on scene. Avoid that area. Instead, take McCoy to get you back on North Beatties Ford Road. That's really what we're watching for right now. Chris?
Okay, double trouble. We have a heat advisory until 8 o'clock. We could have heat indices up to about 106, and then we have a chance for severe storms. Main window of that is 2 to 8 o'clock. Also, some flooding rains could be possible there. After that, the usual summer pattern. We have the lower 90s, hot and humid, with a chance for storm each and every day.
Got to stay weather aware today.
91 just seems downright quaint.
I know, I can't wait.
Right. A
Chilly.
reminder, the news doesn't end here. We're live all day with breaking news, weather, and traffic.
That's at WCNC Plus. We're streaming there now. Join us.
streaming live right now on WCNC Plus. I'm Ben Thompson.
And I'm Lisa Washington. Once again, we are in for another hot day. Taking a live look outside now. The feels like temperature again going to be over 100 degrees today. Now, in addition to the heat today, we are also tracking the chance for some severe storms later this afternoon. Meteorologist Chris Mulcahy has that WCNC weather impact alert forecast.
It's going to be quite the day. The fact that we have a chance of that excessive heat, extreme heat alerts, and then we're going to transition over to some severe storms. Now, the thing with the severe storms is it's not going to impact all of us. Some of us will be storm-free today. It's just kind of the nature of the beast. Meanwhile, this affects all of us, excluding the mountains, though. Of course, you're just hot, not excessively hot. Check out yesterday. So this is yesterday around 3:09. 105 was our peak around Mecklenburg County, 106 in Charlotte and over to Albemarle. Now, if we bring it to current times, it still feels like 86 degrees and 85 right around Monroe. And you might be wondering, why is it so much hotter around Charlotte and Monroe? It's called the urban heat island effect. So we have a lot more pavement over here. Allows us to be a lot warmer than some of the surrounding areas, especially in the morning. But it's been a hot and humid stretch. What's really interesting is our hottest air temperatures have been over the last 2 days. Our hottest heat index was yesterday, but our highest dew point. So the higher this is, the muggier it feels. Well, we actually had our muggiest reading just a few hours ago. That was right around 3 a.m., 75 degrees. Ooh. Now we're down to 74, not feeling much better. This is bringing us into that miserable range. So once you get to 75, it's more of the air you can wear, but it can also make you feel a whole lot hotter. If we held on to that 74 degree point and we got into the upper 90s, we'd be talking about 110 degree heat index. So I'm happy to say that's not going to come to fruition. These will come down a little bit heading into the afternoon, but the day by far is definitely going to be the muggiest day of the year. 97 degrees, well, that's going to be the top. If we didn't have the clouds and the thunderstorms, boy, we'd be talking about a much hotter temperature, even a better chance of hitting 100 degrees. But we're going to feel anywhere from about 100 to about 106 during the course of the afternoon, with high temperatures in the mid-90s. So 97 today, weather alert day, and then 94 tomorrow. We're done with our hottest days for the time being. We're actually going to see our high temperatures on the way down. That's threat number one. The double threat. Threat number two, well, we have to say weather alert for severe storms. I'll break down that hour-by-hour timing. But first, we are going to head over to actually Ben and Lisa.
That's right. All right, Chris, we'll get to Majestic and traffic in just a minute. But first, President Trump speaking right now live at the NATO summit. Let's listen in.
Iran, but he was very nice. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk. I think progress is being made. I think great progress is being made on Gaza. I think because of this attack that we made, I think we're going to have some very good news. I was talking to Steve Witkoff, who, by the way, is terrific, and who knows more about this subject than anybody, the subject of what we were just talking about. He was on last night with Jesse and with Laura and with Sean. And boy, Susie, he has a great take on it. He just explains it so easily. He's really very knowledgeable. But he did tell me that Gaza is very close.
Mr. President,
Oh, okay.
yeah, shall we go in?
One follow-up on Iran. Both you and Secretary Rubio and Hegseth mentioned the leader. But can you clarify, is the intelligence correct or is the intelligence wrong?
Well, the intelligence was very inconclusive. Okay. The intelligence says we don't know. It could have been very severe. That's what the intelligence says. So I guess that's correct. But I think we can take the we don't know. It was very severe. It was obliteration. And you'd think that a media outlet would say, isn't that a great thing? I mean, more importantly for the pilots, for the military, you take their guts out. You take their absolute guts out. They had a tremendous attack. It was a complete obliteration. The other team, the other group, Iran, said, let's stop this. And you know what? Israel said it too. Very smart. They fought like hell, and then they said, let's stop. And they're going to build themselves. And I really see it as sticking. I mean, we may do papers on it, Marco. Maybe we're going to do papers. I don't even know if you need them. They're not going to be fighting each other. They've had it. They've had a big fight, like two kids in a schoolyard. You know, they fight like hell. You can't stop them. Let them fight for about 2-3 minutes, then it's easier to stop them.
And then Daddy has to sometimes do strong language.
You have to use strong language. Every once in a while, you have to use a certain word.
I think we have to join the other senators.
Yes, we're going to join some other group. Yes, thank you. Katie, one
last question. Do you believe that
she's so good. That's the only reason I like.
Thank you, Mr. President.
She used to be very difficult. Go ahead.
Do you believe that this strike on the Iranian nuclear program will lead to the release of the hostages in Gaza?
I think that it helped a little bit. It showed a lot of power. Yeah, I think it helped. But we're going to get separately, even before this, we were very close to making a deal on Gaza. I think this helped, yes. Okay, thank you, Kevin. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
And we've been listening to President Trump speaking at the NATO summit this morning. Again, you heard him speak about the situation in the Middle East and including those military airstrikes that happened over the weekend. We'll continue to follow this throughout the day. We know the president is going to be there. He's going to be leaving actually for the White House later this morning. All right, let's get an update now on traffic. We're going to check in now with Majestic.
All right, good morning, everyone. We have a lot going on, actually, as we're heading into our morning commute. We'll start with this, a view of just our map. I want to take you into West Huntersville. This is what we've been really keeping a close eye on. It's a serious crash. It's reported on McElwain Road. You can see it right here, shaded in this purple. That's where we do have a blocked road right there, McElwain Road and Beatty's Ford Road. So avoid this. Emergency responders did show up on scene, still figuring out exactly what happened, but still not a good place to be traveling in if your morning commute typically does take you that way. Your alternate route this morning is going to be McCoy Road. You can see it right here. It'll take you right towards Gilead Road and then eventually getting you right back onto North Beatty's Ford Road. So again, avoid this area because that ongoing scene that's active right now. Another thing that we're watching carefully is I-77 northbound. You see all that red here? Slow moving traffic between mile marker 81 and mile marker 86. Construction work. It has actually closed down two of the left-hand lanes. So in addition to that, instead of taking I-77 north, you might want to take North Highway 21. However, it's not perfectly flowing. You will still have some smaller delays, but at least you won't be sitting in very slow moving traffic. If you take I-77 and you're stuck in that traffic, this is what you're going to be waiting on. So completely stopped. You can see it right there. I think some of the lanes are moving very slowly, but I don't think anyone wants to be spending any time in that. So again, you might want to consider taking Highway 21 instead. We'll give you another update on what's going on north of Charlotte, of course, Beatty's Ford Road, and then continuing to keep a close eye on this slowdown as well. Lisa.
Majestic, thanks so much. Approaching 7:08 now, and this morning CMS is moving forward with some changes to better support students who are homeless or in foster care.
WCNC Charlotte's Richard Devane joins us now live this morning with a closer look at what's changing for some of these vulnerable students. Richard.
Yeah, good morning to you, Ben. Good morning, Lisa. Good Wednesday morning, and all our folks out there watching us on the Plus. Basically, I'm standing in front of Thomasboro Elementary School, traditionally one of the schools that had the largest amount of students who were homeless or housing insecure, if you will. Now, the district says it's taking care of trying to fill the gaps that these students might be facing, those situations they might be dealing with, as well as all the other students in our district who might be in the same circumstances. Now, on Tuesday, CMS board members approved significant policy updates aimed at ensuring educational stability. The district says these changes are part of a broader push to expand the district's safety net, giving all students who are in this situation, regardless of their circumstances, a better chance to succeed. The district's new measures require schools to immediately enroll students, even without documents like immunization records or proof of residency. Transportation will also be provided without delay. That's a crucial step, they say, for students who often move frequently or lack a permanent address. The updated policies call for schools to swiftly identify students in need and offer additional support, laying the groundwork for a more stable and consistent learning experience.
The proposed modifications are intended to strengthen support for students experiencing homelessness, sets forth the framework to support the educational stability of students in foster care.
And they say these steps will help those students, especially getting all this in place, a working framework for students as they return this fall. We're right here in West Charlotte. Richard Devane, we'll send it back to you.
And Richard, as we said earlier, for some of these students, this is the most stable part of their lives. Do we know if CMS is doing anything to help these students stay in the same classroom, even if their living situation changes?
Yeah, because of the instability, they say they want to provide some stability within the classroom. That's why they're reaching out to guidance counselors and counselors, I should say, who would then identify these students and help them maintain their classroom so that way, even despite the instability as far as where they live, they'll have that stability of their same classmates and friends and, of course, their teachers.
All right, Richard Devane live for us this morning. Thanks, Richard.
Well, we just heard from President Trump this morning from the NATO summit. It comes as the fragile ceasefire between Iran and Israel seems to be holding this morning. NBC's Alex Barr joins us right now here on WCNC Plus with the latest from Washington.
President Trump at the NATO summit in the Netherlands with key allies touting a diplomatic win between two sworn enemies as a fragile ceasefire between Israel and Iran appears to be holding. Recounting in flight how he urged Israel's prime minister to back off a planned retaliatory strike. At the same time, there are new questions about how effective U.S. airstrikes on Iranian nuclear sites were, with a preliminary assessment by the U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency estimating Iran's nuclear program has been delayed by 3 to 6 months. That's according to 3 people with knowledge of the report. The White House calling that assessment flat out wrong. President Trump has repeatedly said Iran's nuclear capabilities were totally obliterated.
Iran will never rebuild its nuclear. From there, absolutely not. That place is under rock.
But one of the sources said core pieces remain intact. Questions also over what Iran may have moved from its nuclear sites before the U.S. strikes. Top Democrats in Congress accusing the Trump administration of misrepresenting the truth about the damage, questioning why the White House delayed planned briefings lawmakers have been demanding.
What are they running away from?
The head of the United Nations nuclear watchdog pointing to an important degree of visible damage.
The Iranian nuclear program has been set back significantly.
While acknowledging no one could fully assess the destruction underground at the key Fordo site, pressing Iran to resume diplomacy for a long-term solution. House Speaker Mike Johnson said his chamber would be briefed on Friday on Iran, and while the Middle East conflict is likely to take center stage at the NATO summit, member nations also talking about increasing their defense spending and showing support for Ukraine in the fight against Russia. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Well, Charlotte isn't the only city that's feeling the heat this week. Nearly 160 million people are under heat alerts from Texas to Maine. The worst heat is being reported in the Midwest and Northeast. Doctors are warning people to stay cool and hydrated, especially as heat-related hospital visits rise. Now, with temperatures on the rise, Prisma Health in South Carolina has a new tool to help heat stroke victims.
And now they're sharing it with the other first responders to help save more lives. Reporter Peyton Furtado got a first-hand look at how it works.
See, when you take a look at this, you might think, oh, it's a sleeping bag. No, this is actually the newest tool that EMS is using to help cool people down at a much faster rate.
It's a large plastic device that allows us to put the patient in it and submerge them in water and ice. And this alone, in about 15 or 20 minutes, will reduce their body core temperature back to a normal or a safe level.
Traditionally, Prisma EMS uses ice or ice packs. This new option can save lives in a moment when seconds mean the difference between life and death.
When you get to 104 and higher, your cells start breaking down. Your organs stop functioning. Your kidneys shut down, your brain starts to shut down, your central nervous system starts to shut down, and your cells actually start being destroyed.
A tool to help EMS help you anytime, any place.
Somebody who is out in Jones Gap or any of these mountainous areas that have heat stroke, it could take us an hour just to get to them where they're on the trail. So now we have the ability to get some equipment to the point of injury, to the point of illness, start cooling them while we extricate them from the woods.
And that's right. When you get that heat index that's over mainly 103, 104, that's where it really becomes significant. But we have a heat advisory whenever there's a chance up to about 105. And that's exactly what we hit yesterday. Yesterday, we did not hit the centennial mark, but it was the hottest feeling day of the year. And then meanwhile, we're starting off this morning with the muggiest feel of the year. So yeah, we've been doing summer things over the last few days. But the good news is our summer isn't always this hot and oppressive. Here's when we had the hottest temperatures, or at least the hottest real feel yesterday. That was right around 3 o'clock. Whew, we were feeling it, my friends. But I'm happy to say things have moved on. Again, 75 degrees is the highest dew point that we've had of the year. We had that just not too long ago. So earlier, I already went through all this jazz about the heat and how hot it's going to feel. I think you're still going to be feeling up to about 105, 106 for the afternoon. But then we start to shift over to our severe storm potential. So here's the problem. Our forecast is very spotty for the storm. So some of us are going to be dealing with threat number 2. And when that happens, you can have storms pass over the same area several times. So some of us are going to see up to an inch of rain, while others are going to see little to nothing at all. And then the heat advisory is your main threat. And even after it rains, temperatures will cool off and it'll be extra steamy, which can also make you feel just as hot sometimes. Our window of opportunity for those storms, though, 2 to 8 o'clock. That doesn't mean you're not going to see rain or storms before or after that. This is just where it's most likely to have the gustiest winds, heaviest rain, and the most active lightning. And we're also going to have a good chance for what's called wet microbursts. And 90% of all of our wind damage happens this way. A thunderstorm has so much rain. But when that rain is within the storm, it actually evaporates, and that's called evaporative cooling. So eventually all that cooler air has to drop. And when it drops to the surface with that rain, it can spread out. And you actually have these bands of winds that can literally just chop off the top of trees. I've had it happen to my house before, and then the top of the tree crushes a fence. So this could be a serious situation, and it just comes in a hurry. And that's where we've seen some wind gusts over 100 miles per hour from this. I don't think you're going to be seeing that profile, but still a chance for some wind gusts over 60 miles per hour, causing some localized wind damage. As I mentioned, there's a chance for storms before 2 o'clock. We see a few guys popping up here, but they become a lot more numerous from 2 to 4 o'clock. But you notice we have a lot of bald spots, so it just depends where you are. Some areas will see rain for a couple hours, some none at all. So just stay weather alert throughout the afternoon. 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock, I think activity is still there, but it's starting to wind down. And then after 8 o'clock or after the sun sets, we'll see those showers really on the way out. So our extended forecast, I'm happy to say, it's finally going to be cooling off. Check it out, 94 tomorrow, still feeling close to 100 degrees. Don't get me wrong. And then we have 91, 92, 93, even 90 of next week, which is a little bit more of the normal hot for this time of year. It has not been a normal morning for traffic, though. Majestic's had a lot going on. So let's go over to her to see the newest update.
All right, well, let's get to it for your morning commute. Want to take you out towards West Huntersville. This is a big story this morning. McElwain Road, you can see it is shaded in purple. It is completely blocked in both directions right now where it intersects at Beatty's Ford Road because there's been a serious accident that's been ongoing for quite some time now. We know emergency responders have showed up on scene. Again, it's completely blocked in both directions, so you're going to want to avoid this area. Your best alternate route, if this is your morning commute, is going to be right here. I gave you those arrows to show you exactly where to go. McCoy Road, and then over towards Gilead. That'll eventually get you right back onto Beatty's Ford Road right here. So continuing to follow this, don't know exactly what happened with that accident, but we know right now it is blocked in both directions. All right, another thing that we're following here, it's on I-77 northbound. Look at all of this red. Now, we typically see this time of the day. However, there's ongoing construction work that's really slowing people's morning commute down. 2 left lanes are closed. Not a good time for that. You can see exactly where it is, and I picked up one of our live camera shots just to give you even more perspective. We showed you on the map, it's red. We're showing you on our live traffic camera right here. I mean, traffic is hardly moving. Not a place that anyone wants to be sitting in as you're heading off to wherever you need to go this morning. So your alternate route for that would be to take Highway 21 up north, but I'll tell you, it's not perfectly flowing. You'll still have those stop and go delays as well, just because people are all trying to head to the north. I-85 here, seeing our typical slowdowns, no accidents. We'll give you another update coming up here in just a few minutes. Ben.
Majestic, thanks. Tonight, all eyes on the NBA draft. This morning, Charlotte Hornets fans anxiously waiting to see who the Hornets will select.
Now, Charlotte has the 4th pick, and it's anybody's guess as to who they will take, but we are pretty sure who the number 1 pick will be.
Unless there is some big surprise, Duke star Cooper Flagg expected to go number 1 to the Dallas Mavericks, and Rutgers guard Dylan Harper expected to go 2nd to San Antonio. After that, it's kind of a guessing game. Sports director Nick Carboni sat down with WFNZ's Walker Mail here on WCNC Plus and discussed the Hornets' strategy and the option of a LaMelo Ball trade.
But to your point, where are we right now? I don't even know if the Hornets know where we are. I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to build smart decision after smart decision. They're trying to pile them up and see where they end up and let the cards fall as they may. And I do think that, especially in a wide open East, given Tyrese Halliburton's year-long injury in Game 7 of the NBA Finals, which is extremely unfortunate. But what it does do is it opens up the Eastern Conference in a way that you didn't expect and was already pretty wide open, even if Tyrese Halliburton didn't suffer a year-long injury. So is the East going to be bad enough for the Hornets to really sneak into a top 6 spot in the postseason? I still doubt that. But now could they get into the play-in tournament, win a game, win 2 games, and then get to the playoffs that way? I think that is a possibility as long as everybody stays healthy. But you got to hit your draft picks, and we just don't know if they did that with Tijan Salon. You have guys, I think, that would all go above Tijan Salon in all of these draft scenarios, right? VJ Edgecombe, Con Knippel, Ace Bailey, go down the list. I think all of them in the same class, all of those guys would be selected before Tijan would. That's just the context of last year's draft.
There's more polish in this year's
much
draft.
more polish.
Known commodities coming out of colleges.
And questions about all of them, for sure, but much more polish with all of those prospects, more so than Tijan. So I think the timeline is they're still trying to figure it out.
So on ESPN was asked if the Hornets would consider a deal for LaMelo Ball. And he basically said, like, they would consider a big deal. They didn't have any concrete reporting that, yes, they're shopping LaMelo Ball, or yes, offers have been made. To me, that's just common sense, right? I mean, you have a guy that has missed a lot of time and is on a big contract, and you have a new regime who did not draft him and is still trying to evaluate whether he's the future. If you get a sweetheart deal for LaMelo Ball, you consider it. I'm not sure they'll get that sweetheart deal, like enough to make it worth it, just given the injury history.
I'm not sure it's worth it for the Hornets either. I guess, okay, when you're trying to assess all of the risks, is it worth having LaMelo Ball on your team another year, or is it worth trading LaMelo Ball for maybe 80 to 75 cents on the dollar, something short of what's equal value? Would you rather do that to the tune of, I don't know what that would look like, in my opinion, probably something like 2 first and a protected first on top of it, so 3 altogether? I don't know what that would look like. What I do know is that I'd probably rather just have LaMelo Ball on my team. I'm a fan of LaMelo. I think putting him alongside the right players brings a different kind of LaMelo to the table. You saw him reach his only All-Star game, his 2nd year in the league, and that's when he had what we would call adequate talent around him. I think that's when you had some vets. You had Terry Rozier, you had Gordon Hayward that was still seeing some important minutes, and they were above 500. When LaMelo was an All-Star, they were above 500, and they had veterans all around him, and that made sense to me. And I think that's the kind of player you want to see from LaMelo, where, the usage rate is through the roof. He's got the ball in his hands constantly, but I think it's out of necessity more so than it is purely out of choice. So, okay, what are you getting for LaMelo? I think people would probably try to lowball you. And the other interesting thing about trading LaMelo is, if you were to ask me the teams that would most like to have LaMelo on their squad a year ago, I would have told you a bunch of teams that have just made moves within the last 6 months. I would have told you San Antonio would be a team to keep an eye out for, except they went and got De'Aaron Fox on top of already drafting Stephon Castle, and they're going to draft Dylan Harper. So they're out of the LaMelo sweepstakes. So then you move to Houston, where, okay, they did just get rid of Jalen Green and now they welcome Kevin Durant, but they just made their big trade. I can't imagine that they're going to trade for Kevin Durant and then get off of some of the pieces that helped them reach the postseason the way they did last year in order to go get LaMelo. That's too much of an identity change for them. So then you go to Orlando, which I always thought was the team that made the most sense, and they just gave up 4 first-rounders to go get Desmond Bane. So all the teams that I thought that made the most sense going after LaMelo, they all made their moves. I don't know the other team that's going to do it.
Well, according to Chandler Parsons and LeVar Ball, it's the Clippers.
Right. LeVar Ball is going to tell you that it's the Clippers, and he wants his sons to be in L.A., and I get it. He wants Lonzo. He wants all the Ball brothers to be in L.A., and that makes sense for him being out there for sure. But yeah, I don't know what other team makes the most sense outside of those three where the LaMelo, the interested teams or the teams interested in LaMelo, that's kind of dried up now. So all signs point to him just being with the Hornets another year.
That was WFNZ's Walker Mills talking with our sports director, Nick Carbone. Make sure you join Nick tonight at 7. We will bring you special NBA draft coverage live right here on WCNC+. We'll get you ready for the Hornets pick, then have all the coverage from the night, breaking it down, plus reports from Brooklyn.
All right, 725 live pictures right now over uptown. We're going to take a quick break, but folks, it's already 80 degrees and it's 7:25 in the morning. Just a sign of things to come. Chris has an updated forecast, also the chance of storms later today. Keep it right here on WCNC+.
Whew, we are feeling it right now. Current temperature 81 degrees, feeling like 86 degrees. This is actually the warmest morning that we've ever had in the history of June 25th in Charlotte history. Our Dallas camera showing sunshine at least, but that's going to allow us to warm up in a hurry. Still staying humid, could feel as much as 106 by 3 p.m. It's most likely going to have our peak heat index for the day. Also, we have a chance for damaging winds. Our main threat is really between 2 and 8 o'clock. We also have some threats and some slowdowns for your morning commute. So let's get over to Majestic Storm to see what's going on.
All right, good morning, everyone. Let's get straight to it. It's been a very busy morning. I want to take you into West Huntersville, specifically McElwain Road. It is completely blocked right now. You're going to want to avoid taking this area, going this area, because emergency responders are on scene because there's been a serious accident. McElwain Road right here where it meets Beatty's Ford Road. So if you just have to if you typically go this way, your best alternate route is going to be taking McCoy Road. You can see it takes you right around it and it will get you right back onto Beatty's Ford Road. Another thing I'm watching right here is I-77 between mile marker 81 and 86. 2 left lanes are blocked because of construction. You're going to want to take Highway 21 instead.
Streaming live on WCNC Plus at 7:30. We're going to start things off with Majestic Storm and a check on that morning commute.
All right, good morning, everyone. Well, we've been following a serious accident for quite some time now. I want to take you straight to it. It's in West Huntersville, right where this icon is popping up. A serious crash reported. It's between Beatties Ford Road and McElwain Road. You can see that purple, meaning the road is completely blocked in both directions. Emergency responders on scene. We don't know exactly what happened. We just know this road right now is impassable. You cannot go through it because it is completely blocked off. Now, if you need to head north on Beatties Ford Road and this is your morning commute, your alternate route will be to take McCoy Road. You can see it highlighted here in this orange. So take McCoy north. That'll get you straight onto Gilead Road and then eventually right back north onto Beatties Ford. That's the biggest story right now for our traffic alert update. In addition to that, though, I want to show you I-77. Now, we know I-77 inbound is always slow this time of the day, but there is some construction that's really slowing people's morning commute down. Two left lanes are currently closed. You can see this backup right here, all of that red here. So if you're heading on I-77 northbound, I would suggest to take Highway 21 instead. Now, it's not going to be perfect. There will still be some slowdowns because a lot of people are starting to get that idea as they're heading northbound. But I'll tell you one thing, heading on Highway 21 will be a lot better than sitting in this traffic. Here's a live look of I-77 northbound. Again, it's not an accident, it's construction. Two left-hand lanes are currently closed. This is I-77 north at mile marker 83. In addition to that, just want to show you I-85 here. Yes, we have our typical slowdowns coming inbound. We don't have any accidents there. Coming up in just a few minutes, I'll be back here detailing out what we know more, if we do, about what's going on with that serious wreck up towards Beatties Ford, or up towards, Beatties Ford Road. And then we'll continue to keep a close eye on I-77 for you as well. Ben.
All right, keep us posted, Majestic. Thanks. A scary incident in South Carolina now, a harsh reminder of how dangerous lightning can be. 20 people treated after a lightning strike.
WCNC Charlotte's Destiny Richards is live for us this morning with the latest. Destiny.
Yeah, definitely a crazy situation where people were taken to hospitals with just the sun in the sky and no storms directly overhead. That's why officials, though, are warning people not to let their guard down when it comes to lightning strikes, especially when you're out on the water. Now, in South Carolina, more than a dozen people were taken to area hospitals in Lexington County yesterday after a lightning strike on Lake Murray. Officials say 20 people were assessed at the scene, 8 adults and 12 children, and at least 12 were transported. Prisma Health says it saw 15 patients overall, but everyone is expected to be okay. Now, according to the Irmo Fire Department, lightning hit the water and energized a metal cable with buoys on it in the swimming area. Several people were holding on to the cable or were nearby when the lightning hit. Department says it was a bright and sunny day at the lake with clouds nearby, but not overhead. That just shows that it doesn't need to be raining for lightning to be a threat. With storms expected in the Charlotte area later today, you want to make sure you're prepared and have a lightning plan if you're going out on the lake. And we have a list of some simple safety checks for you. Just check the forecast and use the WCNC weather app to help you track lightning in the area. And you've probably heard this before, if thunder roars, go indoors. Get to a fully enclosed building or a hard-topped car. Avoid tents, shelters, and especially trees. Avoid plumbing, corded electronics, and windows while you're inside, and stay put for 30 minutes after the last roar of thunder before going back outside. Now, if you happen to see someone who is struck by lightning, the first thing you need to do is call 911, get help, then start CPR or use an AED if it's needed. You can touch that person. You want to make sure that they stay dry and that they're safe until help arrives. Ben, Lisa.
I mean, goodness, 20 people all in one spot. I mean, it's
unbelievable.
I saw it yesterday, and I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Destiny, do we know where the Carolinas rank when it comes to other states in lightning?
Yeah, this was actually a big surprise to me. So according to the National Lightning Safety Council, North Carolina ranks number 4 for most lightning deaths in the country. South Carolina not far behind at number 16. I have a couple of other statistics. This is based on data from 2015 to 2024, by the way. It's Florida, Texas, Alabama, then North Carolina. But according to the National Weather Service, in 2025, there have been 3 deaths due to lightning strikes overall, or so far. And North Carolina actually had the first one of the year. It was a man who died, a 39-year-old man died in Jacksonville, that's just northeast of Wilmington. He was fishing on a boat when he died. And then the 2 other deaths were in Mississippi, another man who was fishing, and then also in Texas, just on June 8th. A man died while golfing. And according to the CDC, any time of year someone can die of a lightning strike or be struck by lightning. Most people do survive, that's a good thing. But July is that top month, so the summer months for sure. And then outdoor recreation or working outside are the main ways that people are struck by lightning, and men are 4 times more likely to be struck than women. So just some statistics I wanted to share there, but definitely a crazy situation. You just want to make sure you have a plan, because as we found out from yesterday's incident, it can happen.
Certainly, and who knew that the Carolinas ranked so high when it came to lightning? All right, Destiny, thanks so much for that report. And Chris, I understand you have some more information when it comes to lightning, particularly here in our area.
Yeah, and I do just want to amend one of those stats, and that was officially 4 lightning fatalities for the year. So the 4th one was here in Florida. That actually happened within the past week or so. Officially, it was on June 20th that we had number 4. But what's really been interesting is the amount of lightning injuries have been reported, such as this one. On Friday, 2 golfers were struck by lightning in Florida. We had a boy that was struck by lightning on Saturday in Central Park, New York. 4 women were actually struck while sheltering in a tiki hut on the beach of Florida. That was on Saturday as well. 4 men struck while sheltering in a cabana in Florida. That was just on Monday. And then also a couple people in a diner were struck in Florida on Monday, and you're noticing a trend. And of course, the 20 people evaluated and 12 taken to the hospital in South Carolina, and that officially happened yesterday. So yeah, it's always the southeast that has the most active lightning, and Florida is number 1 by far for the amount of lightning strikes, not just fatalities and those struck. And another interesting stat that is really unbelievable to me is that 90% of people that are struck by lightning actually survive. Now, they have long-lasting, usually, effects from it, but still the survival rate is bigger than you would think. Our low temperatures this morning, not low whatsoever. 79 is what we dropped down to. I'll have a graphic for you a little bit later on in this half hour, but this is officially the warmest morning in Charlotte history for June 25th at least. We only dropped down to 79. That's unbelievable, and we're rocking the 80s right now. 81 actually feels more like 86 around Charlotte, and 85 in Monroe, and then 82 over in Lincolnton. So extreme heat alerts, yeah, we have them active. A heat advisory that goes until 8 p.m. That extreme heat warning is only for Raleigh, where it's a better chance of feeling like 110 degrees. Yesterday, the spike, 105. Yeah, it got up to 105, unbelievably. Same thing in Salisbury. There was a spike to about 106 in Albemarle. Saw 107s for Raleigh and Fayetteville. And now bringing up the current time, I already showed you 86 degrees to 81 right around Statesville. And this morning also has another statistic. It's been the highest dew point. So that's the muggiest air of the year. You might have felt it as you're going to be out and about. Any dew point that's over 70 is uncomfortable to oppressive. Anything that's near 75 is downright miserable. So luckily these values will come down a little bit, but you're going to be feeling the moisture a little bit more today compared to what you had yesterday. 97 degrees right across the greater Charlotte area, up to 98 in Rockingham. Some of us trying to challenge 100 degrees down towards the south. Feeling like 100 plus as early as 10 to 11, and then we feel as much as 106 by 3 p.m. After that, we're starting to see more cloud cover, and it's going to really temper our warm up, and we're also going to be dealing with a better chance for storms. So today we're weather alert for 2 reasons, one for the storms, one for the heat that I was just mentioning. And we've actually had back-to-back days at 98, the hottest days of the year. Hey, we're really close enough as far as that's concerned. But coming up, I'm going to break down that storm potential. We'll go hour by hour as we assess threat number 2 and the severe threats that come with that as well. Take care.
Chris, thanks. 7:39 right now on WCNC Plus, and the push for better pay for Charlotte Douglas workers hitting new turbulence this morning. City Council just shut down a move to even discuss higher wages for those workers. WCNC Charlotte's Julie Kay was there and explains for us what comes next.
air travel isn't always a smooth ride. At Charlotte Douglas, airport workers say it's been bumpier than it needs to be because of high turnover.
Or workers who are pushing disabled passengers often are not given sufficient paid time off for sick leave. How can you sanitize a plane while you yourself are sick?
Jacob Plittman has helped lead the charge, urging council to pass CASE, the Charlotte Acting for Safety and Efficiency Ordinance. It would provide higher wages and guaranteed sick days. Plittman says it would help keep critical staff on board, benefiting everyone who flies through Charlotte. But on Monday night,
Refusing even to open a conversation.
a ground stop.
They come meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting. I am one of the people.
Councilwoman Tijuana Brown, after seeing another packed room of airport workers, asked to add the ordinance to a future agenda. But Councilman Ed Riggs warned that state lawmakers could see the ordinance as illegal.
Remind people that our control of the airport is tenuous. There is still an existing law in North Carolina that transfers control of the airport to a commission.
After a tied vote and a tense back and forth between council members and the audience,
I'm sorry, you cannot talk to me from out there. Please don't do that.
Mayor Vi Lyles broke the tie, deciding not to move the measure forward. But Plittman says they're not giving up,
To ask themselves, who do I really serve?
adding they're willing to stir up some turbulence at the ballot box to make their case.
That was Julie Kay reporting. With record-breaking crowds expected at airports for the 4th of July, TSA is urging travelers to prepare now. One move in particular could save you some time. The agency expects nearly 19 million Americans to fly between July 1st and July 7th, with the busiest travel day being July 6th. That's why the agency says TSA pre-check may be worth it, especially for those traveling with kids.
Our goal is to get TSA pre-check passengers through security screening within 10 minutes. In the standard lane, it's within 30 minutes. And the latest statistics I saw is that 99% of TSA pre-check passengers get through the line in 10 minutes or less.
Kids under age 12 can go through pre-check with a parent. TSA officials also say they'll have extra staff to help with strollers, medical needs, and real ID checks.
There's one in North Carolina reporting its very first case of measles so far this year, detected in a child visiting the Greensboro area. Officials there now working with some of those local counties to identify the places and times where people may have been exposed. They say it's a good reminder for anybody over a year old to go ahead and make sure you are vaccinated.
The Atlantic hurricane season has officially started with our first named tropical storm, Andrea.
Our weather impact team already anticipating an active season, which is why meteorologist Becca Birdsall is explaining how tropical systems can unleash swarms of tornadoes in today's Weather IQ.
Picture a hurricane like a giant spinning top, wide, wobbly, and a little wild. Now imagine that spinning top sending off little whirlwinds as it moves. Those little whirlwinds are outer rain bands that can produce tornadoes. So why does this happen? Let's break it down in this Weather IQ. A tropical system already rotates, but when it moves inland, it encounters strong wind shear. That's when winds at the surface move in a different direction or speed than winds higher up. In this case, thunderstorms in the outer bands can start to spin and tighten up, forming tornadoes. The right front quadrant of a tropical system can become tornado factories. That's the area where winds are most aligned for rotation. Most are short-lived, rain-wrapped, and tough to see, but they can still be dangerous. Let's take a look at some of the worst tornado-producing tropical systems in the Carolinas. Hurricane Ivan in 2004 produced the most tornadoes out of any tropical system on record, with at least 117 confirmed, including 11 between both North and South Carolina. Also in 2004, Francis, a tropical storm by the time it reached the Carolinas, spawned 45 tornadoes in South Carolina and 11 in North Carolina, impacting counties in our area, including Union, Chesterfield, Lancaster, and York. The strongest was an EF3 confirmed in Camden, South Carolina. Tropical Storm Fred in 2021 didn't look like much on satellite, but it was a tornado machine, spawning 12 tornadoes in the Carolinas. So next time there's a tropical system headed our way, remember, it's not just the eye you should be watching. Sometimes the worst weather is far from the center, and it can spin up fast. With the Weather Impact Team, I'm meteorologist Becca Birdsall.
Great job.
Interesting to know there. I mean, we think, hurricane, tropical storm, but it's what can come out of them.
Yeah, it's the dirty side of the storm is what it's actually called. And it's those bands that are just absolutely atrocious. And yeah, we just mentioned it. Fred was the most recent one that I can really recall. I believe we had 37 tornado warnings that day across our area.
So many. And it's interesting, too, when you have a hurricane or the impacts of it coming our way. You're preparing in a certain type of way, and sometimes you forget to think about tornadoes, too, especially in a place where Charlotte is booming and so many people are moving here from all over. They're just preparing for flooding and strong winds and stuff like that. But oftentimes you have to think about all the different components that comes with severe weather.
And believe it or not, Hurricane Milton, as I'm going to show you here, actually had more fatalities from the tornadoes that came with this, because there was multiple EF3s that came through it. There was 126 tornado warnings that came from this. So it wasn't the most tornadoes of any system, as Becca had mentioned in Ivan, but this was still historic for the amount of warnings that came from this. October 9th, 2024, boy, was this a mean storm as far as tornadoes went, and they're really getting worse and more widespread over the last decade or so. Meanwhile, we'll talk about the tropics. Not much going on. This is a fish storm. Tropical Storm Andrea lasted less than 18 hours. So this is a very short-lived storm. Now it's just post-tropical Andrea. And we'll continue to dance out here. And then the last update that we'll receive is really just over the next 15 minutes. And then we're saying goodbye to Andrea. And then perhaps hello to Barry. Barry's the next one on the Atlantic hurricane name list. We'll likely cruise through majority of this. On average, we usually get to name 14, which brings us to the letter N. But we can wait a little bit. We don't need any more. We're already talking about excessive heat today. Look at all that sunshine. Beautiful, right? Well, this is not beautiful. Whenever you have a dew point at 70 plus, when it's close to 75, that's just yuck status. And the feels like already 86 with a temperature of 81. Just wait about 15 minutes from now when we get our new temperature update. Guarantee our real feel is going to be in the 90s. Yikes. By noon, 101. By 4 or 3 p.m., I think even, we're feeling like 106 degrees, y'all. Yesterday was 105 for the real feel. I think that we're going to surpass that today because we have more moisture. Even though yesterday was hotter, it's the moisture that really drives up your heat index. Damaging wind risks, though, we do have that quite prevalent across the area. So our weather impact window is really from 2 to 8. So you have to be aware of the excessive heat. And then, oh yeah, you're going to cool down kind of from a chance for some storms. But not everyone's going to see these. The main impacts that you're going to see here are gusty winds. We have a chance for some wet microbursts. Those drop down, some quick moving winds in a hurry. And that's what leads to some localized, pretty severe damage, depending if you ever been impacted by that. If you have, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And then our flooding potential is also there. I think some areas could pick up a quick inch of rain, which will overwhelm gutters and drains, which will lead to some localized flooding, more of nuisance flooding as we call it, but still going to be a big threat. Here's a look at our future cast right around 2 o'clock. Anyone in the yellow, that's all of us that watch WCNC, you have a chance for storms. Once you get to about 4 o'clock, I think they're becoming meaner. They're becoming more prevalent. These are the type of storms that pop up and they have to exhaust themselves, and then the outflow boundary forms a new storm. So it's not a guarantee, but that's also going to allow that some areas can get more rain than others. Because watch, focus in on where you live. It might not be a guarantee that you see it, just really focus in on the timing. Still have a chance for heavy rain and thunderstorms past 8 o'clock outside that window, but we should be clearing out close to about 10 o'clock at least. Our 7-day forecast showing a weather alert day for 2 reasons. Outside of that, we have no weather alert days as of yet. Still a chance for storms again tomorrow, but far, far less. And then we have about 91, 92, 93 heading through the weekend. So the normal hot continues with the usual summertime storm to end each day. Not the normal morning so far. Majestic has a new update of what's going on.
All right, here we go. Another accident. This is I-85 southbound at Sugar Creek. There is an accident, and we have a perfect camera showing you exactly what's going on. It's off to the side, so at least that's a little helpful when it comes to traffic and getting around this. So again, I-85 south, Sugar Creek, you can see it's just right off to the ramp right there. So emergency responders are on scene, or at least a tow truck to try to get the car out of here. We'll continue to keep you up to date here. Traffic is just moving rather slowly, so people are just taking those precautions as they're figuring out this ongoing situation. The first of many situations that we have. We want to walk you through what's going on here. It's out towards West Huntersville. There is a serious crash that happened this morning, and we're still still seeing the impacts of it. It's on McElwain Road. You can see it there. It's shaded in purple, and it's right where it intersects at Beatty's Ford Road. So you can see the purple blocked in both directions because of a serious accident. Again, don't know exactly what happened, but that is still close. So if your morning commute typically takes you there, here's your detour. It's going to be taking McCoy Road. You can see it shaded in these arrows in orange here. So McCoy over to Gilead, and then that'll get you back towards Beatty's Ford Road if you're heading northbound. All right, now we're heading south. This is I-77, continuing to move very slowly. It's always moving slow this time of the morning, but there is some ongoing construction that's really slowing down your morning commute because 2 left lanes, they're closed. So here's the deal. We have a lot of red popping up right there. Your best bet will be to take Highway 21, but I'll tell you what, it's not going to be a perfectly smooth morning commute because a lot of people are also taking Highway 21 heading northbound, but I do think that would be your best option compared to taking I-77 northbound because this is what it looks like right now. Here's one of our cameras of that specific slowdown. This is I-77 mile marker 83. So again, a lot's going on right now. We'll have another traffic update coming up here in a few minutes.
Hi, this is Larry Sprinkle. Time for today's tiny town. Just happens to be pretty close to Boone and is Valley Cruces, North Carolina. Valley Cruces is right there in Watauga County. Population about 436, total area 4.46 square miles. Valley Cruces actually is a Latin name, means Vale of the Cross. In that community, there are 3 streams that come together to form a cross. Therefore, it's Valley Cruces. By the way, you also know the name Valley Cruces from the Mast General Store. That's the original Mast General Store. And their motto is, if you can't find it here, you don't need it. So that's up there at Valley Cruces. Valley Cruces, today's tiny town. I'm Larry Sprinkle.
Thanks, Larry. An 18-year-old Charlotte football player will be the first in his family to go to college, but almost no one from his family was at his high school graduation.
But instead, the community that helped raise him was there, including his mentor from Big Brothers Big Sisters. WCNC Charlotte's Michelle Bowden shows us how this nonprofit is seeking solutions and changing lives in the process.
This is a story that is both heartbreaking and heartwarming. It's a story of an unlikely pairing, a relationship that turned out to be more than either could have imagined. When it comes to big milestones, graduation day is a pretty big one. For Caleb Skull, it's as big as it gets.
I'm the first person in my family to go to college, and I want to be the first person in my family to finish college also. I think that's a big achievement that I want to achieve, and I know my grandmother and my mom would be proud of me.
The 18-year-old Butler High School football player hasn't had an easy road.
I'll never forget the day when he was 10 years old, when I walked into the church to see him standing over his mom's casket. And to see that again a few weeks ago with his grandmother, it's for anybody, it's gut-wrenching. For Caleb, who's had a really tough go at life, who still remains so positive and so humble, it's tough to see, and that's why we're here to help him.
Hayne Terrace is Caleb's big brother in the Big Brothers Big Sisters program. The two were first paired together when Caleb was just 6 years old. We first met them 3 years ago when we were profiling nonprofit success stories.
Hayne is one of the best people to ever come through my life. I'm so glad that me and him have a strong bond that is still strong today. It's been 10 years. I'm just super proud and excited to call him my big brother, my mentor, the person that keeps me going, and the person that's been here for me the longest.
Hayne has been there for every milestone, teaching Caleb to drive, attending college visits and big games, and helping him apply to college and for scholarships. Aside from Hayne, the teen is pretty much on his own. His dad was never in the picture. He lost his mom when he was just 10, and his grandparents were raising him until his grandmother passed away unexpectedly in March. Caleb says he's grateful he was able to tell his grandma he'd just been accepted to Greensboro College, and he will play football there. He told her just days before she died.
It was really exciting to know that, because it was something that we've talked about for a while, something that I told her that I wanted to do. Her knowing me stressing about if I'm even going to college, because there was a time where I didn't think I was going to, and now that I've got blessed with the opportunity to go to college, it's a major blessing to know that she's looking down on me, proud of me and my mom.
But he doesn't know how he'll pay for everything. He has some academic scholarships and loans, but they don't cover everything. He's working 2 jobs all summer just to make a dent.
I am nervous to be on my own, but at the same time, I'm excited to be on my own and spread my wings and do things by myself and manage stuff by myself.
And Hayne isn't going anywhere. The two are already getting ready for college move-in day.
It's a blessing to have him still in my life, and it's a blessing to know that he won't go anywhere. He won't just leave out of my life because I need him.
Hayne has set up a GoFundMe to help Caleb with both tuition and college expenses. If you want to help, we've got all the information you need on our website and on our WCNC app. Reporting in Charlotte, Michelle Bowden, WCNC Charlotte.
What an incredible, remarkable guy.
I tell you what, if you don't believe that one person can make a difference in somebody's life, that's living proof of
For sure.
how. And oftentimes you don't even realize it at the time how much of a difference
You're making, yeah.
Yeah, right. Wow. All right, we're going to take a quick break on that note and take a live picture right now over uptown. Already getting hot out there, and just wait, folks, it's going to be another scorcher and the chance for storms later on. Chris is standing by. And Majestic, it has been quite the morning for the morning commute. She's going to have more on that coming up right here on WCNC Plus.
All right, good morning, everyone. We are following a couple of big accidents you're going to want to know about. This one here is impacting McElwain Road. That's in West Huntersville. We've been following this serious accident all morning long for you. Both directions are currently blocked where it meets Beatties Ford Road. So emergency responders were on scene, still learning exactly what happened. If this is your morning commute that you typically take, instead of taking that, you're going to want to take McCoy Road. That'll get you onto Gilead Road and then back onto north of Beatties Ford Road. In addition to that, I-77 is moving incredibly slowly. It's always moving slowly this time of the day, but because of ongoing construction, 2 left lanes are currently closed. This is out in South Carolina, so if you're heading northbound, your best alternate route would be to take Highway 21. Can't promise you it's going to be perfectly smooth moving, but it's going to be better than taking I-77 northbound, because this is what it looks like right now. Hardly moving I-77 north at mile marker 83. I'll have more traffic updates coming up this morning on WCNC Plus. But Chris, how's the weather? When are we getting a cool down?
Well, if you call 91 cool, I guess Friday. Now 97, not the coolest. We're looking at still a peak heat index right around 105 to 107 across our area. Also got to stay weather alert for a second reason. Between 2 and 8, we have a chance for scattered showers and even a severe thunderstorm. Stay weather alert through the weekend. Temperatures rock in the lower 90s. Come check us on WCNC Plus. We're streaming right now.
streaming live right now at 8 a.m. right here on WCNC Plus. I'm Ben Thompson.
And I'm Lisa Washington. We're going to get right to Majestic Storm. We got a lot of trouble on the roads this morning. She has the impact as far as traffic is concerned.
All right, let's get straight to it. Want to show you my traffic map. Multiple things now popping up. I want to take you out to West Huntersville, though, because this is where we have been following a serious accident that does have a road completely blocked off in both directions. McElwain Road, where it meets Beatties Ford Road, that's where the crash happened. Emergency responders did show up on scene, still learning more about what specifically happened. But if your morning commute typically takes you on McElwain Road, don't go that way because, again, it is blocked. Your alternate route for you this morning will be to take McCoy Road. That'll get you right onto Gilead Road and then again back onto North Beatties Ford Road. So we are following that accident that's continuing to be blocked off. And then as we're heading south, this is I-77. It is moving slow. It's always moving slow this time of the day, but there's some construction that's actually blocking two of the left-hand lanes. So if you come in from South Carolina and you take I-77 north, well, it's going to really slow you down. So I do suggest don't do that on taking I-77 northbound. Instead, try to get on Highway 21. We do still have some backups there, but it looks a whole lot better than 77 right now. This is 77, where we do have a lot of slow-moving, even stopped traffic. I mean, this is a live camera right there heading northbound, mile marker 83. So just giving you some perspective as to what's going on there. New accident just now popping up. It's on W.T. Harris Boulevard, eastbound near Graywood Drive. The right lane is blocked because of a wreck. We're going to continue to learn more about this, and I'll have an alternate route for you coming up here quickly. Lisa.
Majestic, thanks so much. 8:02 now. This morning, CMS is moving forward with some changes to better support the students who are homeless and those who are in foster care.
WCNC Charlotte's Richard Devane now live for us this morning with a closer look at what's changing. And Richard, for a lot of these students, a classroom is the most stable part of their lives.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. And the CMS is trying to make sure that they can keep those kids in a consistent classroom. They say that's key to education because in a lot of cases, more than 4,800 students in the CMS school district are without stable housing. They're housing insecure. And that's why the district is working to try to at least alleviate some of those question marks that those students face every single day. Now, that means yesterday the board members approved that significant policy update aimed at ensuring educational stability for those students in need. The district says these changes are part of a broader push to expand the district's safety net, giving all students, regardless of their circumstances, a better chance to succeed in the classroom. The district's new measures require that schools immediately enroll students, even without documents like immunization records or proof of residency for that matter. Transportation will also be provided without delay. That's a crucial step, the district says, for students who often move frequently or lack a permanent address. The updated policies call for schools to swiftly identify students in need and offer additional support, laying the groundwork for a more stable and consistent learning experience.
Proposed modifications are intended to strengthen support for students experiencing homelessness, sets forth the framework to support the educational stability of students in foster care.
Yeah, and the district says it wants to have all of these steps in place for these students as they arrive on campus for the fall semester. We're right here in West Charlotte. This is Richard Devane. Send it back to you.
Richard, you briefly touched on this, but I do want to clarify this also includes transportation for these students, yes?
That's absolutely correct because they say that is a vital component of getting kids to school. Sometimes because of the conflicts they face, not having a home, not having adequate housing, they don't also have adequate transportation. So they want to make sure that they can get transportation to their designated schools and without any delay. So they say that's something that's vitally as important. Keeping those kids in the same classroom, same friends, same teachers, building that stable groundwork of which they can get their education.
All right, Richard Devane reporting live for us. Thanks, Richard.
All right, 8:04 right here on WCNC Plus. Turning back to the forecast, and Chris, juggling a number of factors in your forecast today, including the heat once again, and then possible storms.
Yeah, and officially we broke a record. Now, we would have to really cool off later on this evening. I do not think this is going to come to fruition. So we have our record highs, our record lows, but we also have our coldest highs and our warmest low record. So this is a temperature extreme this morning. We only dropped down to 79 degrees. Looking back at the past June 25th, dating back to 1879, the warmest was 75 degrees back in 1952. 79 was our low this morning. So this was actually a record morning. And we also had the highest level of moisture in the air that we've had so far this season. A dew point is still at 75. That is tropical air, ladies and gentlemen. 84 degrees actually feels more like 92. So that means over the next hour and a half to 2 hours, your real feel is going to be likely around 100 degrees. Today could actually outdo yesterday as far as the real feel goes. Yesterday we had a max around 105. I wouldn't be surprised if some as much as 108 will be in our area before the storms start to roll in. And yeah, that's the other thing, the storms. Our muggy meter also seeing that we're seeing this come down a little bit, but not much. This isn't going to help us out, but we will at least have a lower value by the afternoon, or else we would be almost extreme heat warning criteria. So as you're heading out the door, here are some of the maxes feeling like 100 to 104. Some of us getting up to that 105, 108, I think, for the extreme peak, especially if you avoid the rain most of the day. Those that get the rain are going to really see their top cut off a little bit earlier. So current temperatures right now, 84 around Charlotte, 80 degrees in Statesville, and 68 degrees up in Boone. Actual heat index. We hit that spike about Hickory, you hit 105 as well yesterday around 3 o'clock. That's crazy. I think 3 o'clock's going to be the peak again for us. But then you see that Charlotte's on an island by itself. That urban heat island is actually Concord as well, feeling like a 91, 92. But Rock Hill, you're actually the hottest field right now, 93 degrees. Yikes. Check the clock, 8:06. This is rare. We have a heat index that goes until 8 p.m. This is the last one for the week, luckily. And then after today, it's just the regular hot to at least above average hot. For the real feel, though, I think you're as much as 105 by 2 p.m. The reason why these come down by the end of the afternoon, the cloud cover and the rain is being factored in here. But if that rain avoids the area that you're at, you will have a better shot at having the real feel closer to about 108, and even your temperature is a little bit close to 100 degrees. But that cloud cover is definitely going to knock things down. By noon, we're seeing our first signs of storms. But notice how much these flourish. By the time you get about 2 to 3 o'clock, we're looking like an active storm zone. But I'm going to step out of the way. I want you to find where you live. And this is the deal. This isn't pinpoint, hey, you're going to have storms around Salisbury at 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock. Just shows the development here. See how many blank spots there are in between? So this is literally the definition of scattered storms. Some of them are going to move over the same area several times. And that's where you could have rain rates over 1 inch per hour lasting up to an hour. Could allow for 1 to 2 inches of rain. And each and every one of these will also have a chance for some wet microbursts. That's a quick blast of winds over 60 miles per hour. So just want you to be advised, by 10 o'clock, we should be storm-free across the area, besides maybe 1 or 2 lingers up to midnight. Be safe, everyone, and stay weather alert.
All right, Chris, thanks so much. Well, if you are a member of Charlotte's creative community, listen up. Right now, the city is accepting applications for creative growth grants.
That's right. We're talking about real money here, designed to give a big boost to local artists, whether you're a painter, a dancer, or a poet. Joining us live to talk about this is Matt Olin. Matt's the co-founder and chief community officer for Charlotte is Creative. Matt, good to see you. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Ben and Lisa. Great to be here.
So what exactly are these grants, and what do these do for some of these artists?
Yeah, so these creative growth grants, they opened on June 19th from the city of Charlotte. And it's a new arts and culture grant program from the city designed to really strengthen the creative ecosystem here. It's going to be over $1.7 million of funding that will support individual artists, grassroots arts organizations, collaborative projects, and other activities that support Charlotte's arts and culture plan.
When we say arts and culture, of course, that can be very broad.
Yeah.
Just art alone. There's, performing artists. There are, a number of different art. Tell us who exactly is eligible for these grants.
Yeah, I mean, basically, we bring up wide scope to the idea of arts and culture, right? It's really everyone who is creative. So at the end of the day, it's going to be individual artists and creatives, creative groups, these grassroots arts and culture nonprofits. Really, to qualify, applicants have to meet a couple of important criteria. One is they have to live in Mecklenburg County, and the project must take place in Mecklenburg County. But also, all applicants have to demonstrate that they're either a nonprofit or they have a fiscal sponsor, which basically means they have a third-party nonprofit that has agreed to accept the funds on their behalf.
Matt, are there different kinds of grants? I know they come in different denominations. I think all the way up to something like $20,000. Are there different kinds for depending on what somebody's looking for?
Yeah, the grant program is divided into 3 funding streams. Each one's kind of designed to fit a different need in the creative community. One is the project support grants. That's the one that's up to $20,000, and they support projects and initiatives that sort of directly advance the arts and culture plan. We also have professional development grants. That's up to $2,500, and that category really funds sort of participation in capacity building programs, career enhancing opportunities like classes and workshops and conferences and exhibitions. Really important for continued learning in the arts sector. And then the third is operational support grants. That's actually up to $25,000, and they provide general operating funds to grassroots arts organizations, sort of helping to keep them sustainable and their long-term impact going.
Matt, from your perspective, talk about the importance of a city investing in local artists. We know that in educational and academic arenas, they've changed from STEM to STEAM, adding in that arts view. Tell us why you think it's so important that a city invests in local artists.
Oh, wow. I mean, so many reasons, right? The arts enrich our cultural identity as a city, our quality of life. At the same time, it's sort of an economic driver through tourism and job creation, but also it fosters community connection, right? Whether it's through educational opportunities or just offering creative outlets that help residents, with their mental health or civic pride. At the end of the day, our nonprofit, Charlotte is Creative, we want Charlotte to be known as the most welcoming and supportive city in the country for artists and creative entrepreneurs, and funding sources like this help to cement that reputation.
All right, Matt, if an artist is watching us right now on WCNC Plus and they could really use this money, what is your advice?
Well, take advantage of all the support that we're going to be providing, right? Because we are going to be supporting folks along the way, not just to help people put in the strongest applications possible, but also to help them build stronger skills for when they apply for things in the future, like grants and proposals and open calls. So go to our landing page, which is cltgov.me/CGG. You're going to see where you can register for all of these upcoming virtual and in-person Q&A sessions, grant writing workshops, things like that. And then get that application in early, right? The deadline is August 4th, but don't wait to the last minute. We want folks to get them in as early as possible and take advantage of all the support that we're providing along the way.
A city can have all the big employers and sports teams and things like that, but when it has like really good art and artists, it adds so much texture and fabric to a community.
For sure, and I think that's part of the selling point as well. You come for a job opportunity, but after work and other things to do with your family, and art is a very, very important part of that.
All right, Matt Olin joining us live here on WCNC Plus. Matt, thanks so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you both very much.
All right, 8:13 right now on WCNC Plus. And we heard from President Trump just about an hour ago right here on WCNC Plus from the NATO summit. It comes as the fragile ceasefire between Iran and Israel seems to be holding, at least this morning. NBC's Alice Barr joins us now with the latest from Washington.
President Trump at the NATO summit in the Netherlands with key allies touting a diplomatic win between two sworn enemies as a fragile ceasefire between Israel and Iran appears to be holding. Recounting in flight how he urged Israel's prime minister to back off a planned retaliatory strike. At the same time, there are new questions about how effective U.S. airstrikes on Iranian nuclear sites were, with a preliminary assessment by the U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency estimating Iran's nuclear program has been delayed by 3 to 6 months. That's according to 3 people with knowledge of the report. The White House calling that assessment flat out wrong. President Trump has repeatedly said Iran's nuclear capabilities were totally obliterated.
Iran will never rebuild its nuclear. From there? Absolutely not. That place is under rock.
But one of the sources said core pieces remain intact. Questions also over what Iran may have moved from its nuclear sites before the U.S. strikes. Top Democrats in Congress accusing the Trump administration of misrepresenting the truth about the damage, questioning why the White House delayed planned briefings lawmakers have been demanding.
What are they running away from?
The head of the United Nations nuclear watchdog pointing to an important degree of visible damage,
The Iranian nuclear program has been set back significantly.
while acknowledging no one could fully assess the destruction underground at the key Fordo site, pressing Iran to resume diplomacy for a long-term solution. House Speaker Mike Johnson said his chamber would be briefed on Friday on Iran, and while the Middle East conflict is likely to take center stage at the NATO summit, member nations also talking about increasing their defense spending and showing support for Ukraine in the fight against Russia. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
A UNC law professor says at this point he is just grateful and glad to be back home on American soil after living through recent strikes during a trip to Israel. Michael Gerhardt joined us on WCNC Plus to talk about his experience. He says he and his wife struggled to get out of the country, but were able to stay calm because of the folks around them there.
Our flights got canceled, so we had to come up with a plan to sort of drive to Amman, Jordan, which we were going to do on that Saturday, but we had to survive between that Friday and Saturday. And all that night, all Friday night, there was just bombing. So we basically didn't sleep. And the smartest thing to do in that circumstance is just stay in the bomb shelter. So we survived that Friday, and then Saturday we started to drive into Amman, and we were able to fly out of Amman, Jordan on Sunday. It certainly felt to me when a ballistic missile exploded what seemed to be above me, my whole building, including my bomb shelter, shook.
And listen to this, the professor and his wife were actually in separate bomb shelters at first. Can you imagine being over there in the middle of this and not even being with a significant other? They were eventually able to reunite and wait out the shelling together. You can watch that captivating conversation, the full thing, and it's a complete extension of it with the professor anytime right here on WCNC Plus.
8:16 now, and Charlotte isn't the only city feeling the heat this week. Nearly 160 million people are under heat alerts from Texas to Maine, the worst heat being reported in the Midwest and Northeast. Doctors are warning people to stay cool and hydrated, especially as heat-related hospital visits rise. Now, with the temperatures on the rise, Prisma Health in South Carolina has a new tool to help heat stroke victims.
And now they're sharing it with other first responders to help save more lives. Reporter Peyton Furtado got a first-hand look at how it works.
See, when you take a look at this, you might think, oh, it's a sleeping bag. No, this is actually the newest tool that EMS is using to help cool people down at a much faster rate.
It's a large plastic device that allows us to put the patient in it and submerge them in water and ice. And this alone, in about 15 or 20 minutes, will reduce their body core temperature back to a normal or a safe level.
Traditionally, Prisma EMS uses ice or ice packs. This new option can save lives in a moment when seconds mean the difference between life and death.
When you get to 104 and higher, your cells start breaking down. Your organs stop functioning. Your kidneys shut down, your brain starts to shut down, your central nervous system starts to shut down, and your cells actually start being destroyed.
A tool to help EMS help you anytime, any place.
Somebody who is out in Jones Gap or any of these mountainous areas that have heat stroke, it could take us an hour just to get to them where they're on the trail. So now we have the ability to get some equipment to the point of injury, to the point of illness, start cooling them while we extricate them from the woods.
And if you think if that's just for extreme cases, yesterday, we had 18 cases of heat-related illnesses here in the Charlotte area. That's just here.
Yeah. I've never heard of those cooling bags.
Yep.
Right.
It's interesting, and I think that it could really help, especially if you don't have the paramedics there quite yet to be able to help somebody cool down really fast.
Yeah.
Because these things can happen quickly. I mean, you talk about that humidity. I mean, it's just the feels like temperature goes up quickly.
There's signs that it's happening to your body, but then after that, they rapidly go up. As they always say, if you stop sweating, you're already kind of too late. You're into heat stroke territory, where it usually goes heat rash, heat exhaustion, heat stroke. So let's not check any of those boxes today. This is the last heat advisory that we have, at least for the week. Likely you'll see more of these on and off throughout the summer, but I think we need a break from around 100 degrees. What do you say? Other than that, usually our typical summertime pattern, it's in the lower 90s, and we're feeling like the upper 90s, and then you're gonna have a chance for storms. That's pretty much what we have today. Our current heat index right now, 92 degrees, 91 around Monroe, 91 around Concord, and that's 89 in Gastonia, and then 93 in Rock Hill. You can see our hour-by-hour forecast. By noon, we're feeling like 103, 105 by 2 p.m., and I think it's as much as 106 to 108 in some spots, truly, across the area. So the upper threshold of that heat advisory. So I want everyone to stay extra safe today. This is the last time that we're going to be talking about this, at least for the near term. Meanwhile, we also transition over to a chance for storms. Check this out. Our wind threat right now is the only one in the medium threshold, and we're really looking at the potential for what are called wet microbursts. And those wet microbursts is literally all the energy that drops out of the cloud and that just splats to the ground, allowing for some damaging wind gusts. So let me show you what that exactly looks like. Here it is. You have dry air that's injecting all of that rain-cooled air right in the middle of the cloud, and this all eventually sinks and it splats down the surface. You can actually see this in the 3D imagery of our radar, and there might be a chance that Brittany's going to be tracking that a little bit later on here on WCNC Plus and live on air on WCNC. The biggest wind gust that I've ever seen for one of these is about 100 miles per hour, but there have been reports as much as 125 miles per hour. So wet microbursts make up 90% of all the wind damage that we typically see here in the Carolinas. Our futurecast showing our first signs of storm right around 1. So one of two scenarios are going to play out. Either 1, your house is going to have a thunderstorm that pops up. You have torrential downpours for up to 1 to 2 hours, lots of lightning, and a little bit of minor flooding. Option number 2 is maybe you have a brief stint of rain or none at all, because we see a lot of areas that have either nothing past the area or just briefly nipped by some of these storms. The problem with these is they're so slow moving, they kind of pop up in their own fruition. There's nothing that really drives it in the upper atmosphere to have it come in and have it come out, where one storm could pop up and some counties could have up to 1 to 2 inches of rain. Meanwhile, a neighboring county can have barely anything at all. I think it's really between about 2 and 8 o'clock that we have the best potential for this. There are some indications that some of these storms might have enough gusto to last a little bit longer, but this is the big change compared to what we have yesterday. Yesterday, we were picking up the clouds that were close to thunderstorm development. Today, for sure, we will have them in the area. But how much rain? I would say maybe up to about a ½ inch to 1.5 inches for the extreme, a trace to just 1/10 of an inch for the lower end. Today is the only day that we're weather alert going forward. 94, still close to the threshold, feeling as much as 100 degrees, and then after that, the lower 90s, finally back to kind of where we should be to end June and start off July. Even a cool 90-degree point on Tuesday. Ooh, majestic.
Ooh, you might need your jacket.
I know, right?
Just kidding.
Chilly willy.
Just kidding. I don't think anyone will be grabbing their jacket, even with 90s. All right, let's get to it. I want to show you our maps because we do have still some trouble spots. This one here has been ongoing. It's at McElwain Road. You can see shaded in purple, still blocked in both directions right here where it meets at Beatty's Ford Road. So a serious accident right there that has blocked the road. Emergency responders were on scene, no longer there. However, the road is still blocked. So if that's where you typically drive in your morning time commute, this is going to be your alternate route to take McCoy Road. That'll get you right on Gilead Road and then back over to Beatty's Ford Road heading northbound. All right, another thing I've been keeping my eye on this morning is I-77 northbound moving slowly. It's always moving slowly this time of the day, but there's been a lot of construction work. So if you want to avoid that, you could consider taking Highway 21. However, conditions seem to be actually actually improving. It's not perfect, but it's not so stopped like it was just about 5 to 10 minutes ago. So starting to see some improvements there. We will take it. Then as we're taking up towards Uptown and Independence, a couple of things that are ongoing just outside of Independence. Right lane blocked because of a crash. It's on W.T. Harris Boulevard, eastbound lanes near Graywood Drive. So again, if you don't want to sit in that traffic, your alternate route here would be to take Farm Pond Lane to Marbrook Drive right here. We'll have another check on those roads coming up here in just a few.
Tonight, all eyes on the NBA draft. This morning, Charlotte Hornets fans anxiously waiting to see who the Hornets will select.
Charlotte has the 4th pick, and it's anybody's guess as to who they'll take, but we're pretty sure who the number 1 pick will be.
Unless there's just some massive surprise. Duke star Cooper Flagg expected to go number 1 to the Dallas Mavericks. Rutgers guard Dylan Harper expected to go 2nd to San Antonio. Now, after that, that's where it gets interesting, and that's where it's a bit of a guessing game.
Be sure to join our sports director, Nick Carboni, tonight at 7. He will bring you special NBA draft coverage live on WCNC+. We'll get you ready for the Hornets pick, then have coverage all night breaking down afterwards. Also, some reports from Brooklyn. Now, the Hornets also drafting a party. They actually have a draft party tonight at the Casey by Beaumont on North Tryon Street. The doors open at 7.
All right, big night ahead. Live pictures right now, I believe, of inside the studio and the 3 of us.
Yep.
There you go.
These are the live pictures you want to see, right?
There you go.
That's not live, but it looks great.
It looks nice out there.
Yeah, they brought me over here to talk NBA draft.
Okay, what are you thinking?
Want to have your input.
They were talking about, who is it, the Ball brother who may stay with Charlotte?
Yeah, I don't think that they're going to trade him, but for the draft tonight, one thing I'm happy that as pick number 4, this is actually a much stronger draft because last year it was pretty much, okay, you have the top 1, 2 players. At least this year's a little bit deeper draft, and there's a lot of things that could pivot and go their way. I think they're going to find a generational player at least this time.
Okay.
So at least they have several options. It's not like, man, we really hope this happens. It's really going to go in different directions. So as I mentioned before, a couple of weeks ago, I think the Panthers and the Hornets are finally turning the corner that we're going to have a championship in the next 10 to 20 years.
10 to 20?
I don't know. Got to be conservative, right?
It's a big year. That's right. All right, now live pictures over Uptown. Chris now going to put on his weather cap. Whoop. He's got to check your forecast coming up next right here on WCNC+.
Good morning, everyone. We have a very active map for your morning commute. Let's take you into West Huntersville. This is where we've been following a serious accident this morning that has completely blocked McElwain Road. You can see that purple there. An accident this morning has blocked this road in both directions where it meets at Beatties Ford Road. So avoid this at all costs. If this is your morning commute that you typically take, your alternate route this morning is going to be McCoy Road. That'll get you right on Gilead and then back onto North Beatties Ford Road. In addition to that, following I-77, it is slowed down. It's always slowed down, I feel like, at this time of the day, but there has been quite a bit of construction that did earlier close 2 left lanes. So it's still a little slower, but we are making some progress. If you just want to forget about it and you want to take Highway 21, seems like that's actually all in the green right now. This is a live look outside I-77 north at mile marker 83. Earlier it was completely stopped because traffic was so backed up, but as of now, seems like we're making some nice improvements. This one right here is another ongoing wreck. Right lane is blocked because of a crash on W.T. Harris Boulevard, eastbound near Graywood Drive. If you don't want to sit in that congestion, because there will be a little bit of a delay, you might want to consider taking Farm Pond Lane to Marbrook Drive. All right, Chris, what's going on?
Okay, the double duo heat advisory until 8 o'clock could be as much as 105 to 108 across the area. But then we also have a chance for some severe storms. The main window of opportunity for that is between 2 and 8 o'clock. So keep that in mind. Gusty winds, heavy rain, I think, are the 1-2 threats. Beyond that, 94 tomorrow. Still a chance for storms. Then the lower 90s heading through the weekend. We're live streaming right now on WCNC+. Come join us right now.
Thanks for joining us live on WCNC Plus at 8:30. I'm Lisa Washington.
And I'm Ben Thompson. First up, we're going to get straight over to Majestic. She has got her hands full this morning. Just a number of issues out there for the commute.
Exactly. A lot of accidents still ongoing that we've been watching now for several hours. Want to show you a live look. This is I-85 southbound lanes being impacted slightly. It's at Sugar Creek. Notice most of this traffic is flowing just fine, but there is an accident. You can see it right there. It's pushed over to the side, so you're still able to get onto the ramp there, but just take it easy as you're heading out the door. Another big thing that we've been following this morning, it's in West Huntersville. I want to zoom it in right here. McElwain Road. You see that purple right here? That's indicating that this road is completely blocked right now, still blocked in both directions. It's right there at McElwain Road where it meets a Beatties Ford Road. So a serious accident this morning. Do not head that direction if your morning commute typically takes you that way. Today you need to take McCoy Road if you're heading northbound. That'll get you out to Gilead Road and then back onto North Beatties Road. All right, now to the south, what we're watching here is I-77. It's moving a little slower than it usually is this time of the day, especially if you're coming in from South Carolina. It's because of more construction. So instead of taking I-77 northbound, you might want to consider taking Highway 21. I'm seeing mainly green, might be some slowdowns here and there because I think a lot of people are starting to hop onto Highway 21 to avoid that slowdown. This is I-77. You can see cars are still moving. They're just moving a little slower than they should be for this time of the day. All right, a couple of other things I want to let you know about is this ongoing accident here. You can see the icon right lane right now. It's blocked because of a crash on W.T. Harris Boulevard eastbound near Graywood Drive. Not seeing significant impacts with it, but if you don't want to deal with any of it, your alternate route with this would be to take a Farm Pond Lane to Malbrook Drive. You can see those arrows just indicating that alternate route for you. We'll have another update coming up here in just a bit. Ben.
Majestic, thanks. A scary incident in South Carolina is serving as a harsh reminder of how dangerous lightning can be. 20 people treated after a lightning strike.
WCNC Charlotte's Destiny Richards is live for us this morning. And Destiny, this all comes during National Lightning Safety Awareness Week.
That's right, Lisa. This was a crazy situation where people were taken to hospitals. It was a sunny day, too, with no storm directly overhead. But officials are definitely warning people just to not let their guard down when it comes to lightning strikes, especially when you're out on the water. Now, this happened in South Carolina. More than a dozen people were taken to area hospitals in Lexington County yesterday after a lightning strike on Lake Murray. Officials say 20 people were assessed at the scene. 8 adults and 12 children, and at least 12 were transported. Prisma Health says it saw 15 patients overall, but everyone is expected to be okay. According to the Irmo Fire Department, lightning hit the water and energized a metal cable with buoys on it in the swimming area. Several people were holding on to the cable or were nearby when the lightning hit. The department says it was a bright and sunny day at the lake with clouds nearby but not overhead. And that just shows that it doesn't need to be raining for lightning to be a threat. With storms expected in the Charlotte area later today, you want to make sure you're prepared and have a lightning plan if you're going out on the water. And we do have a list of some simple safety checks. Check the forecast and use our WCNC weather app to help you track lightning in the area. And you've heard this before, if thunder roars, go indoors. Get to a fully enclosed building or a hard-topped car. Avoid tents, shelters, and especially trees. Avoid plumbing, corded electronics, and windows while you're inside. And stay put for 30 minutes after the last roar of thunder before going back outside. Now, if you happen to see someone who is struck by lightning, you need to call 911 immediately, start CPR, or use an AED if needed. And you can touch that person. There's no transfer of electricity or anything with that. You just need to make sure that they stay dry and safe until help arrives. Ben, Lisa.
So give us some sort of perspective here. How do the Carolinas rank when it comes to lightning strikes?
Yeah, definitely some surprising statistics here. Florida's number 1, and then it's Texas, Alabama, and then North Carolina. North Carolina ranks number 4 for lightning deaths in the country. South Carolina not too far behind at number 16. Also have a couple of other statistics to share. According to the National Weather Service, in 2025, so far there have been 4 deaths. The rankings are according to recent data between 2015 and 2024, but in 2025, 4 deaths so far. The first one of the year was in North Carolina, in Jacksonville, North Carolina, just northeast of Wilmington. A man died because he was on a river or a creek, and he was killed by lightning while fishing on a boat. So it's definitely very dangerous to be doing outdoor recreation and working outdoors as well. Those are typically the most ways that, or those are the biggest causes for people who happen to be struck by lightning. It's also that men are 4 more times more likely to be struck than women. So, women also work outside. They also do that. That just happens to be the statistic there. And then the summer months, of course, are when lightning strikes the most. But of course, just stay with us. Our WCNC Charlotte weather team, you just need to have a plan and make sure that you know when lightning's going to be in the area. But I'm sure Chris will talk more about that too.
And it's just a reminder to not ignore lightning. As you said, it doesn't have to be close by, but when you hear that thunder, go inside.
I tell you what, just after seeing this story when it first happened, 20 people, that has got my attention.
For sure.
All right, Destiny, thank you for that. Let's turn it back over to Chris Mulcahy. He's standing by with a look at their forecast.
And the sad thing is, when thunder roars get indoors is the most common way to stay safe. But there's also a very rare case called bolts from the blue. And that's exactly what happened in Florida, that the storm was well over 10 miles away, well beyond the point that you could hear it. It was just such a strong storm that was able to travel such a great distance where somebody sadly lost their life in Florida. But that's definitely the best advice for you. And I think it's one of the more interesting stats that it's 80% of men that make up the lightning fatalities, as Destiny would just said. I just think that's a staggering fact. You have your own opinion why on that. Yearly lightning deaths also has been coming down substantially since we've been keeping track of this data since the 1940s. The 1940s averaged over 300 lightning deaths per year, but we've been more prepared, more informed as the years have gone down. During the 2010s, we actually only had an average of 25, and then so far as we're midway through the 2020s, well, we actually are averaging less than 20. So keep it up, everybody. Just continue to follow that great advice. But as Destiny also said, Destiny did a great job, by the way, explaining all that information. 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. is your best chance for lightning. Now, I'm not saying you won't see it before or you won't see it after that, but this is where lightning is going to be most frequent. This is where the rain is going to be the heaviest and where you could also have the gustiest winds. So let's start with that impact. We've talked a lot about the heat. It's going to be hot, plain and simple, feeling like 105 plus, just like yesterday, but today, you'll have a chance for those clouds to populate a little bit earlier, and that's where they could really start to jump heading into the afternoon. So 2 o'clock is where we're opening up our severe window, and check it out. We're seeing a good sizable storm volume at this point, and some of them are going to sit over one area for a given point. So that's 3 o'clock. Let's actually move it back. There's 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. And the reason why I'm slowing this down for you is if you keep track of the area that you're living in, some of us are seeing storms for a couple of hours. Some of you not really seeing any storms at all, where they pop up and then they die out after 45 minutes to an hour, and then a new one forms. And then once you get to about 10 to midnight, we're pretty much storm free across the area. But again, that time frame between 2 and 8 is your best chance for things to be the most active going forward. As for our 7-day, check it out. Downhill from here. This is what I'm talking about. 97 degrees today. Today's the only day that we are weather alert, having a red bar for 2 reasons, as I mentioned, because the excessive heat and also those severe chances. Tomorrow, we will have a chance for strong thunderstorms, but I think it's going to be very isolated at this point. 94 degrees, and then we have a range of 91 to 93 Friday through Monday, and then a cool 90-degree point on Tuesday. Each and every day, pretty much what we call our summertime pattern. It's hot, it's humid, with a chance of a storm to pop up, especially mid to late afternoon. Ben?
All right, Chris, thanks. 8:39 right now on WCNC Plus, and the push for better pay at Charlotte Douglas hitting new turbulence this morning. The City Council just shut down a move to even discuss higher wages for some airport workers. WCNC Charlotte's Julie Kate was there and explains what comes next.
Air travel isn't always a smooth ride. At Charlotte Douglas, airport workers say it's been bumpier than it needs to be because of high turnover.
Or workers who are pushing disabled passengers often are not given sufficient paid time off for sick leave. How can you sanitize a plane while you yourself are sick?
Jacob Plittman has helped lead the charge, urging council to pass CASE, the Charlotte Acting for Safety and Efficiency Ordinance. It would provide higher wages and guaranteed sick days. Plittman says it would help keep critical staff on board, benefiting everyone who flies through Charlotte. But on Monday night,
Refusing even to open a conversation.
a ground stop.
They come meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting. I am one of the people.
Councilwoman Tijuana Brown, after seeing another packed room of airport workers, asked to add the ordinance to a future agenda. But Councilman Ed Riggs warned that state lawmakers could see the ordinance as illegal.
Remind people that our control of the airport is tenuous. There is still an existing law in North Carolina that transfers control of the airport to a commission.
After a tied vote and a tense back and forth between council members and the audience,
I'm sorry, you cannot talk to me from out there. Please don't do that.
Mayor Vi Lyles broke the tie, deciding not to move the measure forward. But Plittman says they're not giving up,
To ask themselves, who do I really serve?
adding they're willing to stir up some turbulence at the ballot box to make their case.
That was Julie Kay reporting. With record-breaking crowds expected at airports for the 4th of July, TSA is urging travelers to prepare now. One particular move could save you a lot of time. The agency expects nearly 19 million Americans to fly between July 1st and July 7th, with the busiest travel day being July 6th. That's why the agency says TSA pre-check may be worth it, especially for those traveling with children.
Our goal is to get TSA pre-check passengers through security screening within 10 minutes. In the standard lane, it's within 30 minutes. And the latest statistics I saw is that 99% of TSA pre-check passengers get through the line in 10 minutes or less.
Kids under age 12 can go through pre-check with a parent. TSA officials say they will have extra staff to help with strollers, medical needs, and real ID checks.
The North Carolina DMV seeking solutions to their dreaded long wait times. You know it if you've lived here any time whatsoever. And now there's a plan that may soon allow private driving instructors to administer road tests.
A WCNC viewer heard about the potential change and reached out looking for some answers. WCNC Charlotte's Walker Lawson breaks down what the plan could mean for drivers.
Well, if you've ever dreaded going to the DMV, especially during the summer heat because you're going to have to wait in a long line just like this one behind me, you're not alone. And one solution that the DMV is working on is allowing private instructors to administer road testing in hopes to cut down these long lines.
In 2021, North Carolina passed Senate Bill 69. The legislation authorizes the North Carolina DMV to certify commercial driver training schools to administer road tests.
That is a process that takes the examiner away from the terminal, out of the office, and that could be upwards of a half an hour.
Marty Homan, communications director for the DMV, says there has been confusion on when this is rolling out.
But there was some information that was going around earlier this year that this was going to start in June or July. That's wrong information. We're not going to be able to roll it out that quickly.
Implementation is still in the early stages, and there's no official rollout date yet.
We're working through the process to figure out what that might look like and how we might be able to implement that.
For drivers waiting in these long lines, it's a welcome idea.
I'm typically concerned about the wait, that it'll eat into a lot of my day, so I put it off as much as I can.
When you look at this line, what were your thoughts?
Oh boy.
The question about this bill comes right as the North Carolina State Auditor's Office prepares to release a full audit of DMV operations, and it's already revealed workforce concerns. The State Auditor's Office said in a statement, without addressing the DMV's workforce challenges, North Carolinians will continue to experience service delays, excessive wait times, and require multiple visits to driver's license offices. WCNC spoke with the DMV before a preview of the auditor's report came out. In response to the report, the DMV said, quote, "We recognize the need for operational improvements at DMV and appreciate the auditor's support for additional resources as noted in the preliminary audit findings." The full report is expected at a later date. Reporting in Charlotte, Walker Lawson, WCNC Charlotte.
8:44 right now on WCNC Plus. And this morning, North Carolina reporting its first case of measles for the year, detected in a child visiting up around Greensboro. Officials are now working with those local counties to identify the places and times where people may have been exposed. They say it's a good reminder for anybody over 1 year of age to make sure to get vaccinated.
8:45 now. The Atlantic hurricane season has officially started with our first named tropical storm. Andrea.
Our weather impact team is already anticipating an active season, which is why meteorologist Becca Birdsall is explaining how tropical systems can unleash swarms of tornadoes in today's Weather IQ.
Picture a hurricane like a giant spinning top, wide, wobbly, and a little wild. Now imagine that spinning top sending off little whirlwinds as it moves. Those little whirlwinds are outer rain bands that can produce tornadoes. So why does this happen? Let's break it down in this Weather IQ. A tropical system already rotates, but when it moves inland, it encounters strong wind shear. That's when winds at the surface move in a different direction or speed than winds higher up. In this case, thunderstorms in the outer bands can start to spin and tighten up, forming tornadoes. The right front quadrant of a tropical system can become tornado factories. That's the area where winds are most aligned for rotation. Most are short-lived, rain-wrapped, and tough to see, but they can still be dangerous. Let's take a look at some of the worst tornado-producing tropical systems in the Carolinas. Hurricane Ivan in 2004 produced the most tornadoes out of any tropical system on record, with at least 117 confirmed, including 11 between both North and South Carolina. Also in 2004, Francis, a tropical storm by the time it reached the Carolinas, spawned 45 tornadoes in South Carolina and 11 in North Carolina, impacting counties in our area, including Union, Chesterfield, Lancaster, and York. The strongest was an EF3 confirmed in Camden, South Carolina. Tropical Storm Fred in 2021 didn't look like much on satellite, but it was a tornado machine, spawning 12 tornadoes in the Carolinas. So next time there's a tropical system headed our way, remember, it's not just the eye you should be watching. Sometimes the worst weather is far from the center, and it can spin up fast. With the Weather Impact Team, I'm meteorologist Becca Birdsall.
Also a great reminder to folks who may have moved here recently that it's not just a coastal problem. I mean, we saw with Helene, we saw with Matthew, we've seen so many times over and over again in just the last few years of a lot of damage. The coast, of course, has things to worry about, but places inland, like Charlotte, have plenty to worry about as well.
The storms definitely move across the inland areas.
And Fred, one of the storms that she named, actually came in from Louisiana, and it caused us problems. So you have to watch what's happening in the Gulf to see if it eventually is going to get to us.
And I think people are kind of surprised by that too, especially when they move from, I don't know, like the West Coast where you're not used to having severe weather like that, and you're preparing for a hurricane, then all of a sudden we could have multiple tornadoes too. So really like staying close to our weather team when we have events like this will really be important.
Sure, not just one tornado, but several of them just from one system.
Well, luckily no tornado risk today, but before I go further, I want to read this message because it concerns Ben.
Okay.
So my son JT woke up and Kim had WCNC Plus on. By the way, JT's a huge Ben fan. He saw Ben, got pumped, jumped up and down, and then Kim asked, "Do you want to wait to see Daddy?" And he said, "No, I want a different movie."
No, JT.
But shout out to Ben. He got super excited. So we have one of our youngest WCNC Plus watchers, and thank you to all you who watch WCNC Plus. It's a laid-back version of the news.
Please tell him I say hello.
Okay. Well,
and
JT.
We know who he gets most excited for, and that's Larry Sprinkle.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, because Larry Sprinkle, Ben, and then Dad's.
And it's funny that he thinks that it's a movie.
I know.
Right, a different
I love
movie.
Ben on that movie.
I love that.
Well,
hey, JT, if you're still watching.
Hi, JT.
Well, let's roll tape. Here is we have for our weather forecast. Real quick, our Andrea is now post-tropical Andrea, so that was less than 24 hours that we even had this name. So that was kind of a crazy short-lived event, which, do you know what? Hey, we could have 21 named storms. If all of them did that, I would be super pumped, but that's never the case. Our Dallas camera looking at a lot of those upper-level clouds. Temperature right now, 84 degrees. Dew point, 75. Feels like 92. Y'all, Over the next hour to two, we're going to see this back into the triple digits. So before you know it, it's going to be feeling like the centennial mark. I think as early as even 10 o'clock. 11, I think it feels like 100. 105 by 3. And some of us, if you avoid the storms long enough, some of us are going to be storm free today. Others are going to get dumped on for a couple of hours. If you avoid the storms longer, don't have as much cloud cover, I think you could feel as much as 108. So even hotter than yesterday. The biggest risk that we have for any storm today, by the way, is a chance for some of those wet microbursts. That's where quick moving winds move down from the cloud, and that's usually how we get most of our wind damage. But we have the perfect profile for that to happen. So I think most likely if that does come to fruition, it happens between 2 and 8. That's the weather impact window, the weather alert window that you need to know about. Heavy rain is going to be a possibility, frequent lightning at that point. Destiny was just talking about all those great lightning facts, or not so great, however you look at it. And our severe impact number 2, I think, is going to be flash flooding. It's the slow-moving storm system. Luckily, we haven't had a lot of rain recently, so that's going to help things out. But you could have some nuisance flooding real quick if one storm sits over one area and then another one moves right back in, because it's just going to be a nebulous of these storms. Here's 2 o'clock. That's where we're opening up the window. I'm going to step out of the way, and I want you to find where you live. And then keep track of the storms. Now, notice a lot of us aren't really going to have too much going on. Here, I'm going to go hour by hour. I stepped over here. Here's 3 o'clock. We almost doubled the amount of storms at that point. By about 4 o'clock, we're still seeing a lot of bare spots here on the map, but some of us are seeing some heavier rain showers. And as you continue, 5 to 6 to 7, they're just floating and drifting around. So some of us will have up to and over an inch of rain, others barely a trace. So it just really depends where you are. One of those tough forecasts to really say, hey, it's in and out at this point. It's that slow-moving, typical nebulous of thunderstorms that move around for this time of the summer. And then temperatures, quote, quote, cooler. 91, 92, 93, heading through the weekend, even a high of absolutely just at that 90-degree point on Tuesday, but each day still has a chance for those pop-up showers and storms. It's over to Majestic, which hopefully things are quieter compared to earlier.
It's still pretty active, that's for sure. It's one of those days where we're seeing just a lot of active problems out on those roads. Here's I-85 at Sugar Creek. Continuing to follow this, it's an accident that has been pushed off to the side, so that's good news. You can still easily get onto the ramp, and traffic is still flowing all right. But you can see cars are taking it rather slowly, which is good as they're still figuring out what's going on there. Want to show you I-77 northbound coming in from South Carolina. I mean, it just really depends on where you're going to be traveling. It's one of those days where construction is taking much longer than it typically does. Here's another live look. So this is a Gold Hill I-77 northbound, our South Carolina camera. Not fun to travel in, and you can see perspective on my map. I'm seeing all of that red all the way towards the state line. So if you don't want to wait in that, another option is taking Highway 21 there. It is going to be a little stop and go at times as well, because many people are also taking Highway 21 for that alternate route. Starting to see some backups there as we're looking at Independence. We did have this accident. Looks like it was actually just cleared, so we'll take it, making some progress there. Here's one though. It's on Randolph Road and Caswell Road. We're seeing some orange indicating slow moving traffic. Take it easy for your morning commute. We'll have a final check on those roads here shortly. Ben.
Majestic, thanks. A Rhode Island parrot is suddenly in demand for adoption despite being known for some pretty bad behavior.
Hendrix is a 30-year-old parrot who was brought to the shelter 2 months ago. At first, he was quiet, and workers at the shelter say he was malnourished and seemed terrified. But as he settled in, Hendrix came out of his shell, and that's when they learned he has a foul mouth. For reference, and of course, since we can't say it or show it, his caretakers say that he does a great Samuel L. Jackson impersonation.
Folks at the shelter didn't think he'd be able to find a home until they posted him on social media and showing his colorful language. That post went viral. Evidently, a lot of people want a bird that can curse. They say they wanted to be upfront with potential adopters that he has this issue, but also they want to be sure they found a forever family.
If you call him a pretty bird, he'll say thank you. He'll say good morning, baby. Other than the niceties, that's as far as the niceties go. The rest of it is slurs, cusses, things I can't repeat on camera.
Oh, Hendrix. Hendricks.
He's
Well,
sexy.
and listen, more than 50 people applied to adopt Hendricks from as far away as Kansas. Now, we're talking he's in Rhode Island. Get this though, the shelter says he has now been adopted by a woman from southern Maine who has plenty of experience with birds and is ready to give Hendricks a happy home. And she doesn't mind that he has a potty mouth.
She can probably extend his vocabulary some, you know.
He must have learned it from his original owner. You know,
He
as
learned
was
it
a little
somewhere.
bird. I used to have a bird growing up.
Yeah.
And they are next level, you guys. They need all the attention. They will mimic you in ways you didn't even know they could. And that's a perfect example of that.
All right.
Not to be a Debbie Downer, but I do feel bad because we said he's 30 years old.
He's 30.
But birds
They live a long
like
time.
100 years. They
I know,
usually
I'm saying that speaks to like he's been around for a long time and then evidently got abandoned by his owner. No
Yeah.
wonder he was sort of in a funk. Like, you know, poor thing.
cussing people out.
But he's
I mean,
still
Probably.
You
if I
was
was
scared
there.
too if it happened to you.
But don't you think Hendricks knows that that's not what he should be saying?
Probably so, but I would be frustrated too if I was abandoned.
I don't think there's any changing him at this point.
And Samuel L. Jackson movies are amazing. So.
Amen to that too.
All right, we are going to take a quick break right now, but don't leave WCNC Plus because, I mean, this stuff is great, right? We're going to have another check on weather and traffic coming up in about 2 minutes, and then we'll be back with more of the day's headlines. In fact, at the top of the hour, our own Jane Mariella is going to take over from our new Live Impact News studio. She's going to have all the breaking events from across our area and the world, so keep it right here all day long on WCNC Plus.
All right, up and at 'em. It is our Wednesday morning, and we are following a couple of things out on those area roadways. I-85 at Sugar Creek, you can see that accident there is off to the side. Not seeing any major problems there. Again, looking I-85 southbound at Sugar Creek. One area where I'm seeing a whole lot of congestion, it's right here, I-77 northbound. If you're coming in from South Carolina, this is Gold Hill Road. Nobody wants to be stuck in this, and it's not even an accident. It's just a lot of construction that's taking longer than it typically does during our morning time commute. You can see all the red there right by the state line, so if you want to avoid that, which you probably do, take Highway 21, but notice you will still have a little bit of stop and go traffic because I think other people are catching on to that. In addition to this, though, Independence, we are starting to see those typical backups there in this ongoing wreck. It's on Randolph Road and Caswell Road. So take it easy, have a great day, and get ready for that heat, humidity, and storms. Chris?
And check this out, y'all. It is 88 degrees and it feels like 99. That means our peak heat index is going to be right around 105 to 108. Oh, yeah, and then you have a chance for storms. Stay weather alert. We have a chance for storms today and the next few, but especially this afternoon. Take care.